All right, next subject. Now we're getting more into the meat of what I wanted to get into. Breaking into your market, networking, and lead generation. One of the biggest questions, this will probably draw the most questions of anything else I do, is about how you really break into your network, break into your market and be more successful at getting more leads and getting more people to book you. Not the sales side, but just about the side of, attracting more people to wanting to hire your services. Why networking? The best place to be in your business is a place where you are generating tons of leads without doing anything specific to get those leads. Passive lead generation. Best place to be. When you're not doing anything and people are just sending you emails every other day, just saying, hey, you available for a wedding? How do you generate that type of stuff? Networking also helps increase your brand awareness and brand value, which generates higher quality leads. Networking meaning, how many are you from Atlanta? Again, raise of hands. About a lot less than I thought. Wow. Most major cities, most areas have some form of networking. I'll go as far as to say all areas have some form of networking. In Atlanta, it means we can go to networking events like NACE, ELIA, WIPA, and all these things like that, which are major networking events that they have like meetings every month or every other month. You can go there, you can meet planners, photographers, venue people, the whole gamut of industry professionals, knowing them and getting to be known by them. And just that helps your brand value because the more people that know about you and your brand, like I said, you don't have to be perceived as high end at first. Just being known is really helpful. Where to begin? Local. For your local market, your immediate city and surrounding areas. For us, this is Atlanta, just defining what I mean by a local market. As a new wedding videographer, you should be building up your leads in your local market. To further this point, most videographers should have most of their business coming from this market, assuming their local market can sustain that. Some people might be like, they might be in a really obscure area, and for them, they have to travel all the time. I'm not really speaking to you guys if you're listening to this. If you're living in the middle of Anchorage, I don't know, somewhere remote, and you're thinking to yourself, your local market, you have to think more regionally because your local market, not enough people are really getting married to sustain a full-time business, and that's just the reality of it. But for us, this is Atlanta. Local market is the most important thing, and we get 95% of our leads in our local market. Where to be, regional. Major cities, maybe within driving range of where you live. The regional market traditionally opens up after you've established your presence in your local market. The exception to above would be people in smaller markets or people with a great social media and web presence who are targeting those areas. Destination people. It is possible to build up a really good destination business. I would say more often than not, it's really difficult. Most people are not successful in targeting just a destination market. Focus on your local, focus on your regional. For Atlanta, regional could mean, the outerlying areas of North Georgia, maybe into Tennessee, maybe into South Carolina. Could be as far away as like Lake Coney, maybe partly into Alabama. I like to think of regional as like, 2 to 3 hours away. Maybe if you're already in a smaller market, regional could mean 4 to 5 hours away, somewhere where you could drive to for a wedding and not probably fly to. Destination market, you're more than likely getting on a plane for this wedding. Many wedding videographers have propped up destination weddings as the most desirable. Very few wedding videographers, however, can charge full rates plus travel on destination weddings. I think this needs to be said. There's so much, if you're active part of like Facebook groups and wedding videographer groups talking about wedding videography, for some reason we think that the destination market is like the end goal. And so many people are trying to get into the destination market. And there's a couple problems with that. The destination market can only sustain so many people, and there's way too many people trying to get into that market. They're harder. It's not a free vacation. So many people think that they're just going to go on a destination. They're going to get a wedding booked somewhere tropical, and it means they get to go there for free. They get to work for a day, and then they get to just relax in the sun for a week. I don't know. Does that work for anyone? It doesn't work because when it comes down to it, you realize you're in and you're out because you have other work to get to. It's not a vacation. It is, and honestly, we started trying to get into more extended regional destination stuff. We're fighting with people on pricing. We're realizing we can earn more money at home, and we're back in time to get to our own bed. I mean, there definitely is a time and a place for destination weddings. I love to do a couple a year, just because I think it adds diversity. It can, creative inspiration to kind of help you out just creatively, because, I'm sure we've all shot at one venue 15 times in the last 3 years. But I just want to try to break the stigma a little bit on destination weddings. If you're in it and you're making great money, that's great. If you're in it trying to make good money, there's probably a long line of people who are already more well-established into doing that. Just trying to pull people away from the thought of focusing on destination markets. Focus on your local market, because your local market is what's going to sustain your business and make you have, if you're in part-time trying to get full-time, that's where it's going to happen in your local market. If you've been doing this for a number of years and you have maybe you're single, or maybe you just don't like your spouse and feel like traveling all the time, and you build up a social media presence and you're getting a lot of leads for this type of stuff, it can work. And that's your decision, kind of back to branding, about if that's the type of business you want to run, if that's the type of branding you're going for as being a destination videographer. I'm just trying to break the stigma that it's not all that it's cracked up to be. It's a lot of work, and you spend a lot of time cleaning sand out of tripods. If you're new, you should be focusing on your local. Did I skip a slide? Stupid remote. Blame the remote. How do you like that? If you're new, you should be focusing on your local market. The regional market comes with the successful market, a local market over time. I mean, that's, I would say, the rule, not the exception. Again, it's like you could be living in Atlanta and really targeting heavy like Savannah. You could really be targeting heavy, like Hilton Head, some other areas. And by targeting that, it means that either you're pushing SEO in those markets, trying to get maybe some Google searches for that. Maybe it means that you're really heavily working on relationships with those planners and such to try to give you some leads. It's different ways you can do that. You can market in their local magazines. But again, I stress the point enough, because there's a lot of wedding videographers who are trying to sustain themselves as full-time. Focus on your local market, because that is what is going to sustain your business. The destination market can come independently from a strong local market, i.e. great web social media presence, but won't lead to a consistent lead base like a strong local market will. That's what I keep trying to harp on. Reaching out past your local market is a necessity as you raise pricing. This is definitely true. When you're trying to break through to a certain price point, you really need to expand the area in which you're marketing yourself. That comes naturally if you have like a great Facebook presence, if you have good Instagram, if you have good YouTube, because then people from all over the nation are really going to be hearing about you. When you raise your price, every market will eventually have a cap as to how many weddings you can book, given where you're at and how many people are getting married there. Atlanta, smaller areas are going to have a lower cap than in the area like Atlanta. New York City will probably have a really big cap into how much you can charge with how many weddings you get. It's just great to keep in mind that if you find yourself, like maybe you're in Tennessee, maybe you're one of the higher priced people in Tennessee, and that you really need to start marketing yourself more towards Atlanta to raise your prices and get the amount of weddings you want to have booked. Defining lead generation. Organic lead generation involves SEO, vendor relations, referrals from past clients, and social media presence. This is a long game approach, as it can take years to develop. A lot of people think that they can just, I don't want to say it that way. The reality, the expectation of a successful wedding videography business is that if you want to be in a place where you're getting leads, where people are just inquiring all the time, it's going to take a few years to build up. You cannot just jump into this business and expect that people are going to be referring you, expect that people are going to be calling you up, emailing you out of the blue. It takes years to develop. Other lead generation involves paid ads such as Google, Facebook. That's more of the the paid lead generation. Paid lead generation can lead to quick leads, but won't have a lasting impact unless you continue to put money into it. Like if you Google search words, Facebook, boosting Facebook posts, or anything else that you pour money into can work. Some people are really effective at it, especially in terms of during maybe the engagement season. It can be a powerful tool in getting a bunch of inquiries quick. The inquiries you get are not going to be highly qualified inquiries, but you might get a lot of inquiries, and out of that, you will find a bunch of diamonds in the rough.
What about
I'm sorry, what? Bridal shows? I mean, it's just like the paid. And the reason I make the distinction of the organic versus the paid is that with the bridal show, the money you pay for that is going to have a short-term effect. But once that bridal show is over and once all those leads get married, it will no longer bring any sort of real lead generation to you. Versus organic, great clients who are always referring you to their friends, planners you have relationships with who are referring you to their clients, just even having some great YouTube videos that are searchable. So if you're shooting in the Four Seasons in Atlanta and you want to be the #1 person who shoots at the Four Seasons in Atlanta, or you want to be, so any bride who's going to get married at the Four Seasons Atlanta is searching for it in YouTube, that you want your video to be near the top. And if you can successfully do that, then you'll actually get a lot of leads for that venue because they're finding you like that. They'll fall in love with your work. So the problem, not booking enough can be either because you're overpriced or because you aren't generating enough leads, or a combination. 9 times out of 10, I find that the problem with not booking enough is because you're not generating enough leads, not because you're overpriced. There are very few people who are just overpriced, and that's the reason you're not booking enough. Now, it can happen if you continually boost your pricing. You might feel that you're not booking enough weddings. That is a real thing, but more often than not, you generally know. You listen to someone preach about raising your pricing, and you're like, I'm going to do that. I'm going to raise my pricing by $1,000, and then you all know what happens after you raise your pricing. You don't hear from anyone for 2 weeks. It's mandatory. That's what life does for you. Oh, real quick, I wanted to let the people know who came in late after when I first started, that I will be sending everyone a copy of all the slides. So you don't have to write this all down. I want you to focus more on the other stuff, knowing that you will get a copy of that stuff. Just want to throw that real quick. Yeah, most people who I talk to have a problem with booking actually have a problem with lead generation. There's no exact science of numbers, but you should be receiving upwards of 100 to 200 leads a year for a small studio. This number is relative to how aggressive your pricing is and your ability to sell. If you are receiving 50 leads and booking 40 of them, you are way underpriced. But if you're only receiving 40 if you're only receiving 40 leads a year, and you have to be underpriced because you don't have enough lead generation coming in to raise your prices. So it's a lot of what I teach upon is actually about the science behind your numbers, the science behind how many bookings you have, the packages you have, how many things you do book. Are they booking at the low end, at the high end? How many leads you're getting? There's something there about all these numbers, putting together, looking it over, and being able to tell where your business stands and how it stands. But I came up with the 100 to 200 leads. It won't work for everyone here, but for us, it's around 100 to 200 leads. Probably closer for us. It's probably closer to 200. And the more leads we get, the more it allows us to be aggressive with our pricing, because higher price points will require more leads to sustain that. I'm going kind of fast. I'm just trying to catch up for lunch. Does anyone have any questions so far? I just want to make sure y'all have opportunities. Your product may be great, but you might be doing everything else right, but to book more, you need to invest time in lead generation. Because a lot of what I see a lot of people saying is, guys, I'm not booking enough weddings. Here's my film. What am I doing wrong? And again, 9 times out of 10, their film is adequately priced for what their price point is in their market. You know, people in Atlanta ask me all the time, you know, what am I doing wrong? Here's my film. Why aren't I booking enough? They show me their film and they tell me how much they're charging for it, and I'm like, well, technically, you could probably be charging more for this film than what your price point is at. And so it all comes back to the fact that if they're not able to charge enough, or they're not getting enough bookings, their lead generation isn't strong enough to sustain that.
Jonathan, how do you determine price point? And I mean, I made a spreadsheet. I went to the knot and made a spreadsheet, and the price point for my area
Don't listen to the knot.
which is crazy. And it was crazy low. So that can't really be representative of the cost. But you know, the folks out there doing really great work on advertising there. So how do you figure that out?
It might be true. I mean, that the average person maybe spends like $800 on wedding videography, but you have to get those numbers. That might also be that maybe they're averaging all the people who don't get videography. Maybe it's $0. I don't know. It's depressing to look at, but it's not representative of what you can attain in your own business. I believe that anyone who follows basic principles of running a business and improving their product can easily get 2 to 3 times what the Knot or the Wedding Wire says are the average price. So I think it's a very low bar. But if you're talking about establishing what your price should be, it's relation to how many leads you're getting. It's relation to how many you want to book and how many you have booked. And I can't remember if I posted something about it to the group, but I created a spreadsheet which can really help determine where you're at in where you're at with booking. It's a spreadsheet that just puts down how many weddings you have booked, how many you want booked, what your packages are, and how many of each package you have booked for the coming year. And usually from those numbers, I can tell whatever problems you might have with your booking process. I'm going to get more into that with a different segment, with actually pricing yourself. But if, for example, you're telling me I want 10 weddings booked next year, and right now you have 2 booked. Well, my formula is you want to be at about 33% booked for the year by New Year's Eve. It's something that I've found that is true for my business. And like I said, we'll get into all this later, I mean, with those specific things. But you might actually not be far off from your booking goals. But if you tell me you have 1 booked for next year, let's say you want 40 booked and you have 5 booked already and are all your lowest package, that's telling me that you're overpriced and that you need to reduce your starting price of your packages to be at what the market is willing to pay for you at the time. Does that make sense? A long game approach to organic lead generation can produce passive leads for a long time. It also produces higher quality leads and paid results, i.e. attracting a certain clientele based solely off of something like a venue, which makes it a qualified lead. I go more into qualified leads later, but again, with organic stuff, if you're getting referrals from friends who both valued and were able to pay for the pricing that you had, and they're referring you to their friends, chances are their friends are kind of at the same economic level or status that they were at. Maybe not. But maybe if you're working with a certain planner and you know that if this one particular planner sent, was that Siri? Was Siri listening to me? You know that if a planner, one specific planner sending you a lead, you know that the lead's gonna be a good lead. If you know that, like if you're in Atlanta and you get a lead for the Four Seasons, St. Regis, or the Ritz-Carlton, you know that it's a good lead because they're already pre-qualified to be able to afford you. It's just a matter of convincing them to pay more for video if they don't have it budgeted. It's a whole other conversation. But organic leads, I always find, are way higher qualified leads than non-organic with the paid leads. We've done it. We've done, boosting posts, and, you get like 10 times the amount of leads for a short period of time, but they all want to spend about 1/5 of what you want to charge. And the first question out of their mouth is, what are your pricing? Not talking at all about, hey, we love your work. We want to have you for a wedding.
Quick question. I checked your website, and in your contact form you have just what is your budget, I think, or just budget. And so you don't have to start anywhere or anything like that. when people fill out that form and it's very, very small, how do you go about responding? Do you respond? If you have so many leads?
I'll get more into that with the selling portion. It's a great question about just like how to respond to when they in their budget when they put a small number. I'm just trying to repeat myself for the video. Sorry.
So should we, as far as like generating leads, because obviously that will change the number of leads that you would have, should we be showing our pricing online? Should we be giving a starting price? Should we be showing nothing?
Let's cover that one. Starting price, it's a whole different subject. I do get into that into one of the future segments about selling, about packages. I'm very opinionated about this whole thing. Some of you may know it. I feel like I have good information to kind of back it up, but we will go over that in a little bit. Know how to properly network at an event. I put this in real late because a lot of videographers or a lot of creatives, I should say, have difficulty at networking events. They don't know how to properly network. They don't know how to introduce themselves. They don't know how to approach people or how to talk to people. That's why I put this in, because I want you all to be successful wherever you are, and whether this is a networking event or one of the things I forgot to say before is if you're in a smaller market and you don't have big events or you don't have big groups like NACE, ALEA, or WIPA, big networking events to attend, look for things like a lot of times there'll be smaller networking events, maybe just photographers groups, videographers groups. If you don't have a videographers group, make one. But look for like styled shoots. There's going to be something in every market where vendors will kind of go to or congregate at. Some sort of awards or something. Look for those things because those are how you want to be, kind of meeting people and getting yourself known.
Hey, I have a question.
You have a question?
What about open houses for people who don't have networking events?
Open houses can also work. The thing to be careful about is that it can be easy to feel like, and this is what I'm going to get into with this subject, with how to network. You don't want to just be pushy. Actually, let me talk about this.
For venues, it invites brides in.
They're more
vendors.
interested in the brides. They don't really care about videographers.
But it's a great place to network too if you strategize it. So.
Yeah. Introduce yourself and ask for their name and who they are with. So important. When you're meeting someone for the first time, the number one mistake I see is, hey, I do, I'm breaking the plan, I'm sorry, Kirk, causing you to focus. They're like, and the first thing to do is, hey, I'm John, I do wedding videography, and this is my style, and so great to meet you, here's my card, contact me. And it's just like, the problem with that is that when you're promoting yourself first, it causes people to be defensive. It causes people to not open up to you, and they will all automatically put a wall up. And so if you introduce yourself, ask for their name, who they're with, engage them on what they do. Don't talk about yourself. Talk about them. Talk about their business. Everyone likes to talk about their business. If someone comes up to you and they're like, hey, tell me more about what you do, you're going to feel like good inside. You're like, hey, this person's interested in what I do. And it's gonna start a great dialogue with that other person. Only talk about yourself when asked. People will listen 10 times more intently if they ask about you versus you telling them about yourself. Again, if I go to Taylor and say, hey, I'm John, I'm a wedding videographer, this is what I do, you're thinking about lunch or something. You're like, whatever. I know a lot of videographers, they're like, whatever. But if I go to her and I start talking to Taylor about what she does and open it up about her, it gets her engaged. And then if she asks me what I do, she's actively listening as opposed to trying to tune me out. She normally tunes me out. If at a social event, limit this to 5 to 10 minutes. I mean, this is just my recommendations. You should be focusing on 3 to 4 solid engagements like this per networking event. Don't attempt to have short talks with everyone. So don't go around the room saying, hi, who are you? I'm John. Here's my card. Can I have your card? Here's my card. On to the next one. One of the things you want to be doing at networking events is you want to be forming solid relationships with a few people, because the goal is that hopefully you have other networking events throughout the year. To maybe you have 3 networking events, maybe you have 10. Have a base of people that start to know you. Have a base of people who are excited about you because you're genuinely interested in who they are and what they do. And you start forming this base of people who are advocates for you. And so by you're limiting it to 5 to 10 minutes, anything more than 10 minutes, and you're talking about the baseball game last weekend, it's not really anything useful for the conversation. And you really want to get in about 3 to 4 solid engagements per networking event. I just think this part is important. I'm going to let you guys in on a secret. In the Atlanta market, I'm one of the only videographers who goes to networking events. One of the only ones who do. And I tell people this all the time. This is where I'm finding a lot of my work. And videographers just aren't interested in going to these events, even when I tell them that this is where I find work. This is where I find engagements with other vendors who are going to be referring me out. And I understand a lot of creatives are introverted, and when going to a networking event, I might as well be telling them to jump off a cliff. What would you think?
It'd be the same as answering a phone call.
Answering a phone.
That's for me.
Whole other discussion. If you're not answering your phone for when random people are calling you, then you're not getting leads and you're not making money. I understand that you might be introverted and this might be a stretch. Have a glass of wine, have an alcoholic drink if that's what it takes for you to loosen up. But it'll actually become way easier when you've done this multiple times and you actually start having friends, not acquaintances, at these events. Again, this is all about networking and lead generation. This is so important because knowing and being known and getting people because one of the truths about the wedding industry is that people will refer people who they're friends with, not people who are the best. So being friends with more people, having genuine relationships with more people is actually going to get you way more leads than almost anything else you do. Because they're going to become advocates for who you are and for your business. And every single person they talk to who starts asking about wedding videography, oh, I know a person who I love. And you may not be the best person in the market, but they love you and they're going to promote you anyway. I like to say, ask for their business card. This will enact reciprocity in them asking for yours, because it's to me it's manners. It's it's all about getting them to engage first before you're trying to talk about who you are. Know which wedding vendors will be a better relationship to have. Okay, so this part might be a little bit like people outside the wedding videographers who read this might be a little taken aback, but planners, venue people, and photographers are best. Other vendors like florists and decor can be a referral source on occasion, but get to know and be known by everyone either way. This just means that you only spend 1 to 2 minutes talking to the DJ, but don't limit how long you speak to a planner. DJs love talking to wedding videographers, and I think because they think that we're a great referral source for them. But how many people have ever been referred to by a DJ? Okay, a few. It's rare these days, especially since a lot of DJs are adding videography services of their own. I mean, I can name off like a half a dozen big popular DJs in Atlanta that not only offer videography, they offer photography. Some are offering planning services, floral, decor, uplighting. I mean, they offer everything now. And I'm an entrepreneur, and I applaud their entrepreneurial spirit. But DJs are typically not going to refer us. Bands, there's some bands who I've been working on, and that's only because I've been very intentional about providing them with great footage, and because they're an expensive band, I want them to refer us knowing that I'm going to get them some great footage for them to use for their own promotional afterwards. It's a work in progress. But planners, venue people, and photographers are best. And again, it all comes back to being a good, friendly person, because photographers will refer videographers who they like, and more so than people who are good. If they like you and have a good relationship, they will refer you. Planners and venue people are some of the best. I've gotten so many inquiries just from being friendly with planners and venue people. The venue people are some of the hardest because they have such high rotation sometimes that you could be great. You can get good in with some of the best venues in your local market, but then that position flips to someone else and they don't know who you are. So it's always a work in progress with venue people. the more you allow someone to speak, the more you'll be remembered favorably by them. And not in applying right now because I'm doing all the speaking, but in general, when you're talking to people, always try to ask them questions, get them to engage, because they like it when other people ask them questions and allow them to speak more. And I know you all have to be inversely thinking to yourself that you like that. When people are genuinely interested in who you are, what you do, and even a little bit more deeper into your personal life, it just, they'll look more favorable. It builds more of a friendship than just colleagues. I know how to properly network. Some vendors will probably not refer you in spite of your best efforts. It's okay. Maybe they don't like your personality. Maybe they just have a bunch of people they already refer. I still make an effort to be friendly and social with them. There's some planners who just won't refer us. I mean, it has nothing to do with anything else. I think more often than not, they already have vendors that they love working with. They already have videographers that they love working with. But every once in a while, I will convert them over. There's some planners who took me 3 to 4 years on being friendly with and engaging with them before they finally started referring business to me. And sometimes it takes that long, and that's why organic lead generation is a long game. Sales in general is a long game. I remember when I worked IT consulting, and we had a salesperson on the team, and she was there for 6 months and didn't see any fruit to her labor, and then she left. And it wasn't until after she left that all this work that she'd been putting in started coming back in the form of people calling up to inquire about business with that IT consulting company. Sales takes a long time. It takes a long time of plugging in. It takes a long time of people, getting to the point where they're going to finally come to you and ask for you to quote them for possible business. Some vendors won't refer you yet. Some leads take time to cultivate. Remember, they are referring you the person as much as referring you the person as they're referring you the person as much as they're referring you the videographer. So it's about developing legitimate relationships with people. Don't just treat them as a referral source. Have a legitimate relationship with them, which means you're not pushing yourself or your business. You're pushing two people who are friends who happen to be at the same event. The business, the work will come later. And this is how I always treat sales. This is how I always promote our businesses. It's the best approach because it leads to the the best referrals later on. Some vendors will not refer you because they have a vested interest in another company, such as a DJ who's trying to sell their videography services to the client. Has anyone ever lost a video gig to the DJ? They probably weren't your client. Let's be real. If you're looking at the DJ's work, and this isn't a dig on DJs, and if you guys, there are some DJs who are outsourcing videography to great people. I don't mean to be a dig on anyone. It's just that a lot of times they're just kind of hiring someone who's got a completely different style, who's just looking for basic coverage. And you want people who are going to be coming to your work because they fall in love with your style creatively and whatnot. DJs are some of the best entrepreneurs. I can't believe some of them just basically offering full service everything. It's like they get 10 different jobs per client, and DJs should be teaching business to everyone else in the industry because they're just killing it. Practical steps to increase lead generation. Work with what you already have. Be intentional with vendor relationships on the wedding that you have booked. Be courteous. If working with the planner, be great with communication. Ask them if they need any footage from the day. I ask every single planner that I work with, I said, hey, if you need anything, please let me know. I will film it. If you want to do anything special, I will film it. I will give you any footage you want of the decor or whatnot. They always love it. I count on probably one finger the amount of planners that have actually come back and asked for something. It's just a great way of showing that you want to give back, because a lot of times planners are used to being used. They're used to just people coming to them because they're the gatekeeper to a lot of great leads and work for everyone else in the industry. Offer something back. Sometimes it means offering footage back, offering even just being courteous to them, understanding their lot in life and that they're dealing with a lot of crazy logistics. Be understanding, be easy to work with. that'll help with that. Again, with also photographers and all vendor relationships. One of the biggest weddings I booked a few years ago was with a relationship with like a florist company, and you never know where some of these relationships are going to come from. So just fostering great relationships with as many people as you can is going to be just the best for lead generation. Post your weddings to social media. We all know we should be doing it. Half of us probably aren't. Facebook, YouTube, Love Stories TV, tag your vendors. And this has a big asterisk on it right now. This does two things. It increases your organic reach as well as it makes those vendors want to refer you, because most time videographers don't share content. This can also help increase your SEO. There's a lot of stuff there. There's a big asterisk on tag your vendors because Facebook has changed all their algorithms lately, and tagging your vendors doesn't even do anything half the time anymore.
Well, it notifies them that you posted.
It does, and hopefully they share your work. And Facebook is a whole other story. Again, just over the last month, Facebook has changed everything, and everything is out the window. But sharing your content, there's so many venues that normally don't have people share or tag them, and they're so excited to be tagged. They're so excited to share it with their clients. And if you create a great film, they're going to be, even if they're just going to share it on Facebook, they're also going to be sharing it with other leads that they get. And it does a lot with organic SEO, because venues are going to start sharing the heck out of your stuff because it's relevant, it's new. They're going to share it with all their future clients. Planners love being able to show stuff because it shows the work that they've done. It's just all about sharing it with the vendors. Do any of you guys do that currently? If you're not, I encourage you. Make sure you get the final product out to people. It really helps with them just sharing it away and for other people to see it and refer back to you.
What about when you're in a situation I've had 2 different venues contact me about being a preferred vendor because they like to film from this year or something, but that's not, you realize that you price yourself kind of out of what that venue, how you respond to that without being oh wow.
If a venue is willing to refer you, even if you've priced yourself out, I would still take it. I have one local to me that I ended up on a preferred vendor list, and I get a ton of leads from them. I don't think as of yet with that venue I've been able to convert them, but there is always going to be, even if someone has a really inexpensive venue, there's going to be diamonds in the rough. And it just means a little more cultivation with converting those leads. And there are people who can afford more, and maybe they got married at the venue because a friend of theirs did, and they didn't know to look anywhere. So I would still cultivate those relationships and encourage those leads to come to you. It's better to have too many, it's better to have too many unqualified leads and to search for the good ones than to try to put obstacles to only try to get the qualified leads, because there's nothing worse than just going a week or 2 weeks at a time without getting a lead. Even if you're getting a whole bunch of really low bottom ones, there's always some of those you can convert every once in a while. Don't discourage any leads. I would never do that. Some people are big advocates because they say they don't have time to filter through all the leads, but I just say bring it all in.
How do you deal with venues and planners that one pay commission?
How do you deal with venues and planners who want kickbacks? We don't do kickbacks.
It used to be the norm back probably.
Yeah, there was a few venues who contacted us about that. And actually, when she first started, there was one in particular.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
I remember one of the things. I paid them. It was months after the event, and I realized that we had this arrangement, and we don't deal with that anymore now. If a planner contacts me and says, that I've heard with some of the luxury planners out there that they will ask for a kickback. If they build it into the price, that's fine. But I'm not going to play the normal game of just trying to give money back to the venues. I'll give them footage, but it's I don't think in this area at all it's really the norm anymore. It's kind of been ousted a little bit.
A few venues that do.
There are. But all right. Post-wedding follow-ups. After working with a planner, send a nice follow-up email or invite them to grab a cup of coffee if you're more outgoing. Ask if they need anything, follow up with the venue and make sure that they saw your social media posts, and offer to get them a copy of the wedding for their own social media if they don't want to share. With the venues, all the time, they'll ask for it. Even if you tag them, the person responsible for their social media is not the person who's in charge of booking weddings at the venue. So 9 times out of 10, if you contact the booking people and say, hey, here's a film that we did, just wanted to share it with you. If there's anything else I can do for you, please let me know. They love it because they're mostly not seeing anything out there. With planners, having worked with them, assuming you're easy to work with and you're trying really hard to engage with them or just be nice to the planners, now that you have that baseline of communication with them, I say, assuming everything went well at the wedding, just say, hey, look, I'd love to grab a cup of coffee and hear more about the services you provide and to find out, how I can, maybe be, because I'm an advocate for planners, and I definitely from time to time I'm able to kind of recommend planners, but ask to grab a cup of coffee with them. A lot of times they'll say yes, and building that relationship will go a long way to getting a great referral source. But I always wait until after I've worked with them for the first time. If you're cold calling planners, you're going to have very mixed results with that, and even if they do agree to it, they're probably going to kind of come into the conversation a little cold. It's going to be hard to warm them up. So having that prior relationship will go a long way to just really making that work out.
When you share a wedding, give them a copy to share at the venue, you put your watermark on the bottom of it, or?
I've done a couple things. I don't put a watermark. I don't put when I share with the venue, I don't put a watermark. A lot of times I'm just giving them the film intact, which has our logo.
We start our
at the
films
end.
with a film by Jonathan and Kaye. Yeah.
Now there have been a couple times where they've wanted additional, and there's one venue recently that said that they wanted to be able to kind of cut out bits and pieces of our film to use for a promo video. And I thought about this a lot before I responded, and I told them, I said, look, I don't mind doing this, but this is something that's only reserved for venues that we have a partnership with, that that are a referral base for us and that give us leads, and then that's how we share content with them. And I use that as leverage to kind of open up a door with them promoting us, and I'm allowing them to take bits and clips out of the film for their own. At the end of the day, I'm not going to be able to sell those clips to them. I live in a reality that they're not going to pony up and pay what we want to charge for those types of clips. I'd much rather have strong referrals coming in that's going to help me book more weddings. That's how I approach the business.
If you're having a conversation about being on the preferred vendor list, how do you go about knowing that you're actually on it? Or if they say, yeah, we prefer you, like, how do you know?
How do you know if you're actually on the preferred vendor list? Sometimes it's on their website. Sometimes you just have to trust and hope that you get weddings. And it's as much about being on the list as it is having a relationship with the person over at the venue who's responsible for sending out the preferred vendor list. Because just being on a list doesn't mean anything. What you're more interested in is having an advocate at the venue who's going to promote you. And so just fostering that relationship with that person is more important than actually being on the list, because the list doesn't mean anything if that person isn't promoting you. Print is pretty much dead. Don't tell people I said this. Don't invest too much time or money into this. It's difficult to get leads directly from print, but it can help reinforce your brand. One time I had this wedding that we booked, and the mother of the bride told me that the reason she booked me was because she was on the fence about me in another company, and she chose me because she saw my ad in the magazine. That's the exception, not the rule. We've advertised in Modern Luxury Atlanta for years, and the reality is, I don't have people calling me and saying, "Hey, I saw your ad in the magazine." Now, I'm a huge advocate of multiple touches, because they say in advertising that you need like 2 or 3 touches in order for someone to value your brand or consider you as someone worthy of reaching out to. So it's a great means as a touch, but in this day and age, all it really takes is one good film for people to inquire. One good film on YouTube, one good film on Facebook that someone sees, and they will reach out to you. Print, it's just, has anyone had good results with print? No, nobody.
Our photo side of the business, when we get featured in like
Photo
It's different.
photography is completely different.
Yeah.
so that we generate video.
Yeah.
Print is not dead for photography, so if anyone's listening, print is a great source for getting leads for photography.
And the only success in print that we've gotten is with the venue, they have preferred vendors book. So we do have an ad in there. We're also in the person who actually books the weddings.
That's what it's all about.
So
It's about that relationship
Yeah.
with the.
If they open up the book, so you're paying, so you're asking, call these people, then you're in.
Yeah.
But it has to be in that person.
So don't invest too much time and energy into print. If you get huge results, I want to hear about it. No, one of the biggest things I like to say is know and be known. Most vendors will refer people they know and like, not those who are the best. Knowing people in your industry, being known by them. It's the most important part about lead generation within your industry. Social media entanglement, I just like to say interact with these vendors on social media, like their professional posts, like and comment on pics of their cute kids, their cats. Anytime you can have a touch with a potential referral source increases your chances of being remembered or being favored. This is just kind of like something that I dabble with in terms of what I like to kind of push. This isn't like proven scientifically or whatnot. It's just my whole intentionality about keeping real relationships with the people who I think are referring us or who I want to be referring us. And it just doesn't mean that every time the planner posts something and you're just like you're doing something weird like promoting yourself or just like saying some weird stuff. Just be sporadic, intentional about it. Like, to me, it keeps us on our minds as being people that we want to think of when they think of videography.
What would you figure over a course of a week, you guys, how much time would you all spend on social media management?
Are we answering correctly or ideally? I engage a lot on social media because I'm trying to, both referrals, I want to be remembered by people who are contacting me, or I want to be remembered, when they're thinking about, videographers. I probably spend too much time on Facebook groups. I have a lot of fun sharing information. I love the teaching aspect. I love kind of coming out with being, helping people out newer to the field.
As far as social media, like Instagram and YouTube, we actually don't do enough. Our Instagram's kind of weak, but kind of busy. So it's like maybe during the down season.
Wait, are we
off
talking
season.
about like good social media where we're actually being productive or the bad social media?
That's what I was talking about, because it just seems like, I think, oh, that's a great idea, but you really could be doing that 6-8 hours a day, this level of interaction. And I was just wondering, an outfit like yours, how much?
For me, I treat social media as like in between things. Like I will get something done and I'll pop into social media for 5 or 10 minutes, pop out. Just quick in and out all throughout the day. Just looking for stuff that's going to catch my attention. But I mean, realistically, I would think that we could all say honestly that if we invested as much time in growing your business as we spend on social media, then we'd all be the most successful people in America. Right? Just me?
Bride literally booked me because she was looking up her dress brand, or the shop that she bought her dress from, saw my tag, found my video, put it on Instagram. So those things are really important.
That's good. Good to know.
And I guess that's just things that I need to work on that I have failed to do.
Well, I mean, it just pick an area. Pick local market, pick like local vendors to focus on, pick social media.
You have the Instagram, which really falls to the younger generation, and then you got Snapchat, you got TikTok, and these are fast growing social media entities that people are engaging in. Facebook is becoming the older, more older generation, is what I've kind of seen it hurt. So I don't know. It's so much to keep up with. It's almost like you hire someone to just do my.
I like Facebook because I'm reaching to people who are referring people to us. I mean, I think Instagram and all those other new
Snapchat.
ones, Snapchat, TikTok, All those are great for reaching brides or reaching your client. So, I mean, it's just what strategy do you want to employ to try to get leads? So you're going after the referral givers or are you going straight to the potential clients? Just pick one area and just try to master it. I don't think any of us have time to try to master them all. I think it's impossible.
Mm-hmm.
If you have this, I would be interested in maybe like a short list of like your favorite Facebook groups when you have a sec. I'd be interested in seeing like where you're getting a lot of good stuff from.
Are you talking about leads or?
No, just because I find Facebook groups to be really helpful. So I think.
So you want more distractions in your day? So in a year from now, you're gonna call me and be like, ever since this day, I started being less productive. But the best groups for me for wedding videography, obviously the Atlanta wedding video or the Atlanta wedding group. I mean, I'm sure most of you are in that group. Atlanta wedding and event videographers is kind of like the group for local area where we can talk about local stuff, and it's a great resource for a smaller community. The two or three, I would say the next two are the ones that you're going to get the best kind of resources from in terms of like the most people willing to help you would be the Film Mavericks group, which used to be known as the Wedding Film Academy group, and also the How to Film Weddings group, which is led by John and Nick. Plug. John and Nick, How to Film Weddings. And then you also have a group called Wedding Videographers, which is kind of like, used to be the big group, it's still pretty active. You also have Wedding Film School. Wedding videographers and Wedding Film School are going to be a little bit more of the Wild West of anything goes type stuff. Then there were some other ones in the past, but they're no longer relevant. Those are the most relevant ones, I would say, today. Film Mavericks.
I just know that, like, Lance could probably attest to this. There's one in Middle Tennessee, and I feel that it's become a bottom feeder group more than they're looking for the bottom dollar, or their budget is, I'm looking for 2 videographers, 2 shooters, and my budget's $400.
I don't advocate for like lead sharing groups because lead sharing groups I've never booked anything off a lead sharing group. There is another group called like Southern Wedding Pros, which is where a lot of Southern wedding vendors will talk about some stuff. There are some decently qualified leads on there. They'll still get about 40 responses, but it's not a bottom feeders group. More community. Let me keep going because I want you guys not to pass out from lack of food. We're just going to keep eating the snacks. Practical steps continued. Go to industry networking events in your biggest local market. In Atlanta, we're one of the only wedding videographers to go out to these events. Hopefully not anymore because you all are listening. Regional networking events are heavily fortified with local vendors, and it can be incredibly tough to break in. They don't really want you in. You try to go somewhere like Savannah, Hilton Head, those specialty areas where they're trying to attract people from the outside. They don't want you in their groups because there's not enough weddings for all these outsider people to come in. So just be careful about trying to get into them because the reality is they don't want you in because you can understand if they're entrenched. If you're there and you're entrenched, you want those leads. You don't want to share it out with everyone else who owns a DSLR. Destination networking events like Engage should only be considered when you are at the top of your local market and you have others in your local industry who can help vouch for you there. A lot of talk about like people think just going to a high-end networking event like Engage. If you've never heard of Engage, they do like 4 of them a year. It's where the top wedding pros kind of congregate. Don't go there thinking that you can just schmooze your way into a planner and go from booking $1,500 weddings to $15,000. It's not how it works. So focus more on your local and regional markets. You'll know when you're at a point where you're stunted by not reaching high enough people. That's when you should go to events like Engage. Keep producing content. And I'm going to try to get you guys out in 5 minutes for lunch, just to kind of let you know. Keep producing content. One wedding can lead to multiple content deliverables. If you don't want your social media looking empty, post snippets of your work to gain some organic traction. Any wedding film you do could have like 4 or 5 different cuts. Create all those different cuts. If you find yourself you have more time than you have work, you can generate content that's going to make you look busier. It's going to help with your growth. It's going to help you attract more clients. So if you did a wedding recently and you have 4 weeks until the next wedding, take that one wedding you did, find different snippets of that wedding, tag them appropriately, put them on social media, maybe the first look, or maybe the bride looking with the dad, or maybe just some other important parts or visually engaging parts, or just like story-driven parts that you want to share. There can be a ton of different content. And this is great for people who have more time than they have work. If you have a ton of work, you probably don't have the time for this.
What about rehashing old videos?
If you have a lot of time, you don't have a lot of work coming up, I mean, definitely go back. Just keep putting stuff out there. Instagram, TikTok. I don't even know what TikTok is. Weddings can be broken down into moments. Each moment is a content deliverable. Father, daughter, first look. Groom seeing bride for the first time in the ceremony. A beautiful toast. Keep producing and keep releasing great content. Again, just a rehash over the top. What I was talking about, just if you have a lot of time and you're thinking to yourself, I want to book more weddings, take the weddings you have and keep producing content out of them, because you can get a lot of good organic engagement out of that content. And it makes you look busy, which is great. You don't want to have a social media feed that's vacant, that has huge gaps in it, because then if clients will see that and will wonder what you're doing. It's kind of the same like if you're applying for a job and you hand in a resume and you're like, what did you do for 4 years? I just collected unemployment and sat on my parents' couch. They don't want to hear that. They want to see that you were working the entire time. If you're starting with little to no work, get involved with styled shoots and collaborations with other vendors. The reality is your finished film will not be seen by potential clients, but the relationships you make during these shoots can be invaluable, and relationships lead to referrals. Again, I wanted to create practical steps for people who are not booking enough weddings, which is one of the number one things that people like to talk about online. If you're not booking enough weddings, if you find these styled shoots, the relationships you make with these vendors can be invaluable to creating great lead generations, because these people are going to remember you. Be a great person, be friendly, be easy to work with. It'll have the same effect as if you worked with them on a wedding day, because when they get hired for an event and they're asked to refer a videographer, they will think favorably on you and refer you out. It's a great way to kind of start things off with your business to getting known. You can reach out to planners and introduce yourself, let them know you are starting out, and offer a limited discount for any of their clients that don't have a budget for window. Must have been autocorrect. For video. I hear from many planners that their clients cut video from their budgets and don't get a video. This is just an idea, because a lot of people, again, come to me and say, hey, I'm not getting enough leads. I want to be working. I want more work. Maybe you start at $1,500. I don't necessarily advocate just, cutting your pricing down to $600. Create a special opportunity where you are cutting your price down. Again, a lot of planners, I would say maybe, I don't know these days, 1/3 of weddings have a wedding videographer, give or take, depending upon what market you're in, what wedding planners you're talking to. 1/3 of them have wedding videographers, meaning 2/3 don't. A lot of them would actually add a videographer, but if you tell the planner and say, hey, look, if you have a client who's struggling to find a wedding videographer within their budget, I would like to, I have some empty room in my schedule. I'd like to work with you. I'd like to come down on my price to offer them something that's going to give them something great. This does so many different things. This gives you work. This gives you a relationship with the planner. This makes you look busy. It can help jumpstart things. Don't stay, people talk about, reducing your rates, to, being you don't want to be a bottom feeder. But, that's why you don't just reduce your rates. You don't just blanket it out to the whole world. But, you create little opportunities to kind of generate some work, generate some action for your business. Little small things like this can, I think, go a long way with people starting off in their business. Do you want to add anything?
No, this is kind of your section, okay. So we're good.
Become knowledgeable about SEO and integrate it into your website. There are several plugins available for many WordPress theme sites. You can also pay a company for good SEO or learn to do it yourself. If you're starting out, it can be crucial for developing lead generation without having anything else in place. Though you should have a good website with at least 2 to 3 films. So again, we all know what SEO is. We all know that we should be doing more for it. It's just needs to be said if you're talking about lead generation. If you're not booking enough, I've seen people come into the Atlanta market with 0 weddings, and they're SEO masters, and they get 300 leads a month. It's possible. So, I mean, if you have another job, that's floating you while you're building the business, you can actually find a good SEO person to generate way more leads than you know what to do with. Just a great thing to keep in mind.
Do you recommend WordPress over other?
I don't know. I mean, we have WordPress. She edits it. I like the fact that she edits it. And if we're talking about me editing anything, I don't want to do it. Or creating it.
John, are you going to be talking about practical ways to go about SEO later on?
I don't really touch too much more about SEO. I'm not an expert. I don't want to ever claim to be. It's just important as a note to that it's something that can lead to better lead referrals.
Did you have problems with that when you rebranded?
Yeah, but I also kept my old branding kind of active, so that way it was still kind of directing people back to us. I mean,
I think we started from scratch. We had a brand new website, brand new name, so.
We had a brand new website, that's true, but I also forwarded our old website to our new website. And the number was the same. I made sure anyone emailing my old email address hit my new email address. So I didn't completely cut off all the lead generation that was there. It definitely hurt a little bit, especially with perception, because a lot of people thought we were gone. But it still directed a lot of traffic back to us. Potential clients are extremely likely to be searching for their venue plus wedding film. So having great tagging will help potential clients see your work you've done there. If you've done a wedding at a certain venue, you love being at that venue, make sure that you're tagging the venue. Like if you put it up on YouTube, which is a great thing, or you're blogging about the wedding, do the tagging, because that will eventually help it. So that way when people are searching for that venue and they're like, St. Regis wedding film, you want to be the search results that come up. And it's not even the most popular. It's not the most popular film necessarily, or the best film. It's just whoever has the best SEO or the best optimization, the best. What am I trying to say? Just the best tagging, that they're the films that are going to be coming up. So again, practical steps for lead generation. If you have wedding films you've done, maybe you've been doing weddings for 5 years and you've slowed down. But the first 3 years you weren't active on social media. Go back to all those films and start uploading them to YouTube. Tag the venues you worked with. Tag the planner, the photographer, the florist, anyone you can think of. Because, but really, it's the venue that's going to help you the most. So start going through old films and tagging them, and hoping that you get some traction and people are finding you when they're searching for it. All right. Again, I apologize, I'm going a little quick. I just wanted to catch up a little bit because I know we have some great content this afternoon. Sorry if I'm long-winded or too fast. Hopefully you all got something out of this, but definitely wanted to open up for questions, and then we can all break for lunch.
My biggest question right now is, where did y'all start finding these different networking groups?
Just I saw people post about them. Like, what market are you in?
I'm in New Orleans, and I know I'd done just a little while back recently, because I become aware that there were networking groups, but I did like a Google search for our area, and just not a lot of results really were coming.
Sarah, do you want to talk about this?
For New Orleans?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there are different groups in New Orleans that I can pass along to you, and then some other people that I'm in close connection with that I can pass off.
But that's just for New Orleans. I mean, the thing is, start asking other vendors, other vendors in your market, especially if you have Facebook groups with general vendors, start friending your vendors on Facebook or whatever you're doing, Instagram or TikTok, whatever that is. But, when you're friending them on social media, you start catching wind of the events that you're not a part of. And when you start catching wind of those events, you can kind of integrate yourself or find out, is it an open invite? Can you pay to be there? And then you can start getting ideas of all the things that you're missing out on. Welcome. Did you guys get something out of like this whole thing with like networking lead generation? It's kind of maybe one of the more drier topics before we go on to stuff. And sorry if any of this is a little bit too dry, but I definitely want to make sure we focus it on this stuff because it's so important for the business side. I know workshops can tend to focus on getting the prettiest footage, but one of Kaye and I's mission is that we want you guys to be really successful in the business side. Because, I mean, the reality is the people who focus on the business side are the most successful people, not the people with the best imagery or the best films.
But we are going to help you get better films too. Like we will talk about that.
The content was helpful for you, just remember that we can take that 60-minute film and break down little smaller bits that were like, maybe B footage wasn't the best footage. But still make a quick 15, 20-second snippet, throw it out there, and it's just content.
And you don't even have to re-edit anything. You could take your final film and decide from here to here would be a good point. From here to here would be a good point.
Do you ever notice something on like YouTube that's like 20 seconds long? It's kind of stupid, but it has like 14 million hits. You're like, what the heck? It's like little snippets like that they get out there. But
Would you go back on YouTube, some films you already have uploaded, and maybe do a better job of tagging people there?
we're currently doing that. We're currently going back on YouTube and retagging stuff and doing a better job of it because we didn't take YouTube seriously, just like I'm not taking TikTok seriously. And
I just mentioned that because that's been kind of a buzz.
YouTube is a huge buzz. YouTube is owned by Google, and so it's going to be prioritized with Google searches.
Yeah, you'll look at, when you search something in Google, one of the first things up there is YouTube videos.
Yep, all the time.
So, I mean, that's where it's at.
I just don't know what to say about those little clips. So like, think of a wedding that I did a year ago. It's like they required posting.
Are you just
How did they know it was a year ago?
Well, that's true.
They don't know it's a year ago.
It's in the date somewhere, or it's in the film on
Unless it's just like terrible, like when we first started or something.
Sometimes you can use it as their anniversary. That's just so that you're
That's good, yeah.
the anniversary of this couple and do it 15 seconds. I'll always remember this moment behind the lens when I saw this happen.
It's a good idea. All right, let's break for lunch so we can all come back fresh. Guys, so